English with Deck. Hello, how are we all feeling? Yeah, it's definitely, well, getting warmer or colder these days. It's getting warmer and cooler, hotter and colder. Definitely depends on which part of the hemisphere you are in. Are you in the northern or the southern hemisphere? There's the globe, the big round thing that is spinning, and we live on it, otherwise known as the Earth. The Earth is like split into two, isn't it? There's like a line around the middle, the north and the south, the up, top, and the bottom. And obviously, depending which side of that line you live, depends on what part of the year your summer is in, which part of the year your winter is in. For example, if you're in the lower part, your summer would actually be around Christmas time. It's bonkers. It's balmy. Can you believe it? So when I was in Australia, I had my Christmas on a beach. That was just nuts. It really felt bizarre. Whereas where I am in Japan, England as well, blah blah blah. Summertime is July, August, September, June, July, August. Actually, yeah. So it's really funny at this time of year. Some people are sort of going into winter. Some people are coming out of it properly, and you go into spring now. And you know, recently as well, the times have changed. Certain countries follow the daylight saving times, as it's called, and what that means is that some countries, especially like a lot of European, I think possibly all of the European countries follow daylight savings. Of course, England does. Anyway, certain countries change their times back or forward an hour in when it comes into winter and when it goes into summer. And what that does, it lengthens or shortens the day. However, it's a bloody pain in the ass for me right now because a lot of my students who are in Europe have their I haven't changed time, but their time has gone later. So, for example, I have some early morning classes on a Saturday morning and a Wednesday. But what's happened is their class is now 1 hour later on the Friday night, or in the other one's case, on the Tuesday night. And there is other cases as well, which I'm dealing with. But, things have to be accommodated or tweaked a little bit. So, depending on your industry, it can actually have effects. So, other than just getting less or more time in bed. But yeah, anyway, enough of the weather. I know I talk about it a lot, probably too much. It's almost a weather forecast podcast. No. No, I just wanted to say today, I went to the dentist again, and I've mentioned before about the dentists over here being bloody brilliant. I have genuinely found a dentist who I don't want to lose him. The guy's a wizard. You're a wizard, Harry. That was a terrible Hagrid impression. But like the speed he works at, the quality of the care, the aftercare he provides as well. The advice and stuff, and he's really attentive. He's really attentive to the patient's needs. He's a brilliant dentist, and it really. I had a cavity actually fixed today, so they basically hollowed out the tooth after they injected me, with the Yeah, it's the anesthesia. What? I couldn't think of the word anesthesia. It's they inject you into your gum and then you can't feel anything. So he's there, he's like drilling away at my tooth, and then he gets the bad bit of tooth out. Luckily, it hadn't gone into the root, the bit that holds the tooth in place. And then what happened was, at one point, he let me just sit up and, swill my mouth out with that water they have. There's always something in that. It's like a mouthwash, but it's not a mouthwash. I'm not too sure. Anyway, and at that point, I got my tongue and I sort of wriggled it around in the cavity he created. And then I was like, oh my gosh. It was very, bit surreal. Like I could feel the inside of my tooth. Anyway, and then he filled it in with all the necessary stuff. And he spent a bit of time, actually, really creating the finished effect. And I've never had that at a dentist. He really put a lot of effort in there. And now, when I look at it, it really feels like and looks like, well, a pretty regular tooth, which I am very impressed with, Now, I mentioned a minute or two ago, I found a dentist who I don't want to let go. And there are definitely a few instances where when you find a service provider who offers an absolutely top class, fantastic service, you don't give it up. A hairdresser is one. You find a good hairdresser. You do not let that hairdresser go. You travel back to your town if you move for that hairdresser. A dentist, of course, like I said. Maybe an electrician or a plumber. You find a good plumber, a good electrician, nice person, reasonably priced, does a good job. You don't let them go. A taxi driver as well, Quite often, if you regularly get taxis, you might ask for a specific person, a specific set of people, if it's multiple people who you are friendly with. And it really brings up the point of how important it is to respect people who offer their skills, who offer their knowledge, and to actually be appreciative of these people. And I'm not saying I've had bad dentist work up until now, but I've definitely not had this good a service up until now. Just as in, it was really good at the time until I went here, and then it just the bar became very high. The level of service was very much so, very much raised very much. Yeah, and I'm just trying to think. It's the same, I guess, to a degree. If you find a baker, like a bakery, you always go to that same bakery. We frequent that person. We frequent that service. And we should, just say thank you. And honestly, I think that goes to all the way along to people who do podcasts. Hint, hint, hint. Not so subtle. Hint, hint, hint. Yeah, you find a podcast who you like, a podcaster, should I say. You find a podcaster who you like, who you get along with, who you can sort of understand. And you stick to them. You stick with them like glue. I do it, There's some podcasters who I religiously listen to as soon as they bring out a new episode. And again, by doing that, we are offering our appreciation. We might leave a review to show appreciation as well. And it's really important to maintain these relationships, just because, well, you never know when you might need them. So next time you go to the dentist, next time you call a plumber, have a think. Are you ditching another person's services for a silly reason? Or are you continuing with the person who you know and knows you?